Thousands of listeners across the nation rely on Garden Variety to grow everything better. And we rely on listener support to sustain our little garden of knowledge. You can help Garden Variety flourish with a gift today. Donate now at ipr.org/donate.
This is Garden Variety, a horticulture podcast from Iowa Public Radio and Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. I'm Charity Nebbe. Apple season is always delicious, and there are a number of ways that we can continue to savor the tastes of the season into the winter months. For guidance, we've turned to Suzanne Slack, fruit specialist and assistant professor in the horticulture department at Iowa State University. Hello, Suzanne.
Hello, good morning.
It's wonderful to have you here. And we have had hard frost. We've even had a little bit of snow. So it's definitely time to turn our attention from harvest to storage. But when do you know that it is too late to pick apples?
When they're on the ground.
Okay. So even if you have, it seems unlikely at this point, but apples in the trees after a hard frost, you can still harvest those apples?
Oh, yeah. If they're still in the tree, there's actually some cultivars that hang on purpose, and people leave them after a frost. It kind of changes their texture, some of their complexities. So some of those apples are still pretty good.
All right. And when apples are on the ground, there are some uses they can be put to. A lot of people use those apples for cider. How do you know when it's okay to pick those apples up?
I only compost them.
Okay.
So once an apple hits the ground, you're exposing it to lots of dirt and debris, animal droppings, especially if you have a yard. Those apples have probably been attracting a little bit more than just the people in your household eating them too. So the ground underneath the apple trees can be pretty full of potential pathogens for humans.
Yeah, I always enjoy seeing the little bites out of all of those apples when I'm out walking around the yard. The squirrels tend to take just a little of each one. So don't pick those apples up. Don't use them for cider. Don't use them for sauce. That's what you're saying.
I don't recommend it. I mean, it's up to you as your own property and, your trees, but there is a risk of doing that.
Different kinds of apples ripen at different times. If you picked apples too early, can they ripen off the tree?
They can. What's the old adage? The one bad apple spoils the bunch. So if you have some ripe apples and mix them with your unripe apples, it will actually ripen your unripe apples.
Okay, so instead of spoiling, it will just speed things along a little bit. But they do need that little bit of a boost from whatever kind of chemicals the ripe apples are giving off?
Yeah, it's a gas called ethylene. It's a plant hormone. So the best thing to do is put them in a brown paper bag with something a little bit more on the ripe side. You'll definitely want to watch them because they will go fast. It'll go faster than you'd expect. You can do that with bananas and apples too. That's like an old trick. So ripen bananas, it's the same principle.
And when you say fast, a couple of days, what's the window?
I feel like sometimes I'm going to leave these for like a week and I come back and I already missed it. So it can be really fast. It's you just kind of have to figure out like the relative humidity in your kitchen. There's a whole science to this, actually.
What if you picked apples too late? What if they're overripe, but you still have taken them directly off the tree?
They make lovely sauce. Lovely juice.
All right.
Easier to make even, I would argue.
Maybe even sweeter.
Maybe even sweeter, yes.
Now, you talked about one bad apple can ruin the bunch. That's a real problem. Storing apples for the colder months. It's something that people who grow apples, we definitely want to do. Those of us who grow apples at home, especially if we grow them organically, we're going to have very few apples that don't have any blemishes at all. I mean, talk me through storing apples for winter, how to make the most of that.
Yeah, I mean, I love a good sauce. I love a good apple puree. Apple chips are also a big favorite. They're actually fairly easy to make in your house, and they can be really good. I think the hardest part is figuring out the thickness. People tend to make them a little too thick, and then they get kind of a gummy texture. So if you make them nice and thin, they're actually quite nice. Storing whole apples, that gas I was just talking about, that ethylene gas, is actually the problem there. So a lot of people will put them in their fridge, or they'll put them in like a sealed container to store them. And they're actually, marinating in that ethylene. So they need to be in a well-ventilated place to store them.
Okay, and how would you recommend doing that? Because you don't really want the apples touching each other, right?
Oh, they can be in the same crate together.
Okay.
You can have individual crates. So a basement, especially if you have a fan or something that's moving the air around, would actually be really beneficial for storing apples longer in the winter.
I personally don't like the flavor of apples that have been stored in the refrigerator. It's just something that I avoid doing. Am I just being silly, or is there a reason that that tastes different to me?
Yeah. Wow, we could get into a whole lecture of post-harvest enzymatic activities and temperature stuff. So we're not going to do that. But yes, the temperature will change how the apple is maturing. And will make different flavors.
Okay. And sometimes when I buy apples in the winter or even the next spring or even the next summer in the store, sometimes they'll be good and sometimes I won't like the flavor. So again, that's just because of the storage and how that's been done over the year.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned this before, but sometimes when you buy apples from the store, they're like 14 months old, a year old. They've been pretty much in suspended animation for that long, and it can make their flavors be different. I know I can tell the difference.
All right. Well,
they're still good to eat.
You're giving me a lot of confidence, though, Suzanne, because I love apples. I love apple season so much, and I'm really super picky about store-bought apples and whether or not I will actually even eat them. So you're giving me a lot of ammunition. And I appreciate that.
Good.
So let's talk about keeper apples, because you do want to keep some of your apples or buy apples to hang on to for the next few months. What makes an apple a keeper apple?
Yeah, so if you think about historically, people would have lots of different types of apples. There was baking, fresh eating, and then there was keepers. A lot of keepers are hard to, they don't really come in the grocery store right now. They're more like the heirloom cultivars, and they're the ones that can sit on your shelf for months before they start really going downhill. So typically you have to plant your own tree of them, but they're definitely worth investing in. They're usually a little harder. So if you pick one off the tree, it's like biting into a rock. But if you let them sit on your counter for a couple months, then they become really nice.
And do you have some of those cultivars at the top of your head?
It's so funny that you mentioned that, and I did. And now I need to take a minute. A lot of the older cider cultivars are them. You'll have to get back to me on the cultivars. I really apologize. I should have
No problem at all. We have talked cultivars in the past. What are some of your favorites? Because there are new cultivars all the time. You need to keep planting new apple trees for sure, or at least trying new ones when you go to the farmer's market or the store. What are some of, or the orchard, of course. What are some of your favorites?
Right now, I'm really into Evercrisp. It's a new apple that was actually bred for the Midwest. It's really good. It's not necessarily a keeper. It's probably like a Honeycrisp replacement, but it still has that kind of Honeycrisp vibes, but a little bit of a fresher taste.
Yeah, I actually have been eating a ton of Evercrisp apples this year as well, and I like them so much better than I like Honeycrisp. But they're not quite as sweet as Honeycrisp for me, and they do have that great snap when you bite into them. They've also been keeping pretty well on my countertop, so I'm pretty pleased with that as well. I know that you've mentioned Ludacrisp in the past. Are all the crisps a good idea?
All crisps are basically just new. All the crisps you can guarantee are within the last 10 years of being released. Ludacrisp is also a good one. That one, if you get the right apple, not every single Ludacrisp tastes like this, but a fair bit of them will have a tutti fruity gum vibe to them. So they have a little bit of tropical notes to them, which is pretty nice. There's another one, Rosalie, that's a newer release. That is really, really good. I think it's a contender for becoming a really popular one, as well as a new one from the Japanese breeding program. It's not new, but it's new for us. It's called Sansa. It's also really good.
So once we've picked all the apples and the apple trees are out there, they're going to endure the winter, what are some of the things that we should be thinking about? Because there, of course, a lot of apples do fall to the ground. Is it important to get rid of all of that fruit?
Yeah, so that proverbial worm in the apple, they overwinter in the apples on the ground. So if you've had issues with that in the past, clearing all the apples out, composting them will get rid of all of those caterpillars. They're not worms, they're actually caterpillars. And they'll not overwinter and come into your tree the next year. Leaves too. There's a lot of fungal diseases in leaves that overwinter on that foliage on the ground. So getting rid of that is also important.
My compost bin isn't that far away from my apple trees. Does that matter?
I don't think so. It's just more the fact they're getting composted. So they're not around in the spring.
All right. And if you have a lot of deer in your neighborhood, can you just let them do the cleanup?
You can try.
Okay. Do you have a deadline for when those apples need to be gone?
When it starts warming up again. So pretty much beginning of April. As soon as you start seeing green foliage on the trees, that's the cue for the fungi to start releasing the spores to go back into the tree.
All right. So for the next couple of months, I mean, if you get your apples cleaned up, you get your leaves cleaned up under your apple trees, you don't have a whole lot to do. When do you need to start thinking about pruning and prepping for next season?
I like starting, if I only have a couple trees, I like pruning starting around Valentine's Day. I think that's kind of the perfect mid-February. It's been cold enough that most of the pathogenic problems that could infect the wounds are good. The tree's pretty dormant. That's when I start going.
Do you prune every year?
Yes. You'll regret if you miss a year.
And what are you looking for? What is your purpose in pruning?
You're trying to, well, the first thing is pruning's good for the tree. So if you don't want it to break with the weight of apples, pruning it, making sure that you get anything that would be weak wood, dead wood, diseased wood out. But also there's other reasons to prune. So if you have a smaller space, keeping it a good size, if you don't want a ladder, or you have really large limbs, that's also good to take care of in February.
All right. And when do you start seeing the problems? Do you think about it throughout the season and think, okay, there's a problem I'm going to fix next February?
I mean, I'm obsessed with apples, so I do. But I would hope someone could, if you look at your tree now, you can kind of figure out, okay, well, this branch looks a little weak, or there's some bark peeling here. And if you have any questions, we also have our disease clinic, and we can help identify if stuff needs to come off.
All right. Well, we should probably all be a little more obsessed with apples. Maybe not you, Suzanne, but the rest of us. We have a way to go. Suzanne Slack is an assistant professor of fruit production at Iowa State University. For more gardening information and tips, please subscribe to our Garden Variety newsletter. Find out more at iowapublicradio.org/garden. I'm Charity Nebbe. Garden Variety is a production of Iowa Public Radio and Iowa State University Extension. It's produced by me, Erin Stile, Caitlin Troutman, and the Iowa Public Radio talk show team. For more garden goodness, please subscribe to our Garden Variety newsletter. Just go to iowapublicradio.org/garden. I'm Charity Nebbe. See you next time.